Hey everyone, welcome back to Set for You. In today's video, I'll be working through the iGCSE Foundation Maths November 2025 Paper 1 exam. So grab a pen, some paper and a calculator and let's get started. In the first part of question 1, we are asked to write in figures the number 6,705. So that is simply 6705. In the second part of this question, we are asked to write these numbers in order of size. Start with the smallest number. So the smallest number is 427, then 498, then 512, and 531, and finally 567. In the next part of this question, we are told to tick the box that describes the value of 7 in 0.3785. So the number 7 is 0.07 and that is simply 7 hundredths. In the next part of this question, we are told to write down the multiple of 6 that is between 19 and 29. So that is simply 24 because 6 times 4 is 24. In the final part of this question, we are told to write down a prime number that is between 30 and 40. So remember that a prime number is a number that can only be divided by 1 in itself, and there are two prime numbers that lie between 30 and 40, so your answer could either be 31 or 37. In question 2, we are told that a pictogram shows information about the number of pizzas sold in the shop on each of 3 days. In the first part of this question, we are asked how many pizzas were sold on Sunday. So if we look at Sunday, we can see that there are 12 pizzas sold there, another 12 and another 12. And given as we have 2 slices, we can use our key to work out what those 2 slices will be. And given as we have 2 bits of our full circle, we can work out what that is using our key. So if we have 6 parts and that equals 12 pizzas, then we can state that 1 part will correspond to 12 divided by 6, which is 2 pizzas. And given as we have 2 parts, this would be 4, so we have 12 times 3, which is 36, and 36 plus 4 is 40. In the next part of this question, we are told that more pizzas were sold on Tuesday than on Monday. How many more? So using our pictogram, we can see that the difference between the number of pizzas sold on Monday and Tuesday can be represented by these symbols here. So all we need to do is calculate how many pizzas were sold as a result of these symbols. So really quickly, we can state that this is 12, this is 12, and this is 12. And given as we have 3 parts, we know that 1 part corresponds to 2 pizzas, so 3 parts will correspond to 6 pizzas. And when we add all those values together, we get 42 as our final answer. In the final part of this question, we are told that 30 pizzas were sold on Wednesday. Complete the pictogram for Wednesday. So given as 30 pizzas were sold on Wednesday, we know that there are going to be 2 of these symbols because each of these symbols represents 12. So that gives us 24, and the difference between 30 and 24 is 6, so we need 6 more pizzas. So I'm going to use this symbol here on the right to represent my final set of pizzas, and that is your final answer. In question 3, we are given a diagram which shows part of a number line. In the first part of this question, we are told to write down the number marked with the arrow. So given as there are 5 spaces between 630 and 640, each space represents 2, and the arrow is 2 less than 640, so 640 minus 2 is 638. In the second part of this question, we are told to mark with an arrow the number 6,750 on the number line below. The difference between 6,000 and 7,000 is 1,000, and given as there are 4 spaces between each of these numbers, that means each space can be represented by 250. So 7,000 minus 250 is 6,750, so that means that 6,750 will be right here. In the next part of this question, we are told to measure the length of the line AB and to give our answer in centimeters. So if you use a ruler, you should hopefully measure a length of about 8.7 centimeters. In the final part of this question, we are told to draw an angle of 68 degrees at the point X. So when I use my digital protractor, all I need to do is rotate to about 68 degrees. So hopefully we managed to get that. And then all I need to do is just find the 0 mark and place it at the point X, which is roughly there. And then all I'm going to do next is very easily draw a straight line, and then I'm going to connect this line to that point X. And that is your final answer. In the first part of question 4, we are told to simplify this expression. So given as I have the sum of 5 lots of y, my answer is simply 5y. In the next part of this question, we are told to simplify c times c times c times c, and that simply gives us c to the power of 4. In part C, we are told to solve 4x equals 48. So in order to get x, we need to divide both sides by 4. So 48 divided by 4 is 12. And in the final part of this question, we are told to solve 18 minus w equals 13. And so in order to get from 18 to 13, we need to subtract 5. So w is simply 5. In the first part of question 5, we are told to shade 1/6 of this shape. The total number of squares in this shape is 18, so all we need to do is shade 1/6 of 18, which is 3, and that will just be 3 squares. In the second part of this question, we are told to write 45 over 75 as a fraction in its simplest form. So all we need to do is divide the numerator and the denominator by the highest common factor. So the highest common factor of 45 and 75 is 15, so 45 divided by 15 is 3, and 75 divided by 15 is 5. In the next part of this question, we are told to write 2 over 5 as a decimal. So if you put 2 over 5 into your calculator and convert that into a decimal, you get an answer of 0.4. In the final part of this question, we are told that there are 80 children in a playground. 1/5 of the children are wearing white t-shirts. Calculates the number of these children who are not wearing white t-shirts. So if 1/5 of the children are wearing white t-shirts, then the fraction of children not wearing white t-shirts can be obtained by subtracting 1 over 5 from 1, and that gives us a value of 4 over 5. And in order to determine the number of children not wearing white t-shirts, we simply need to multiply 4 over 5 and 80. And when you put that into your calculator, you get an answer of 64. In question 6, we are told that Paulo has some flour in each of 3 containers. The table gives the weight of flour in each container. The total weight of Paulo's flour is less than 3 kilograms. How much less? Give your answer in grams. So the first thing you need to know is that 1000 grams is equivalent to 1 kilogram. So using the table of information, we can simply state that the weight of container B is 1000 grams. And so the total weight of Paulo's flour is simply 500 plus 1000 plus 700, and that gives us a value of 2200 grams. And given as the total weight of Paulo's flour is less than 3 kilograms, we can simply convert 3 kilograms into grams, which is 3000 grams, and we can subtract 2200 from this value of 3000. And so the final answer is 800 grams. In question 7, we are told that Betty got on a plane at 09:10. She got off the plane at 13:45 the same day. For how long was Betty on the plane? Give your answer in hours and minutes. So from 9:10 to 10 o'clock, that will be a total of 50 minutes. And from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, that will be a total of 3 hours. And from 1 o'clock to 1:45, that will be a total of 45 minutes. So if we add all these values together, we have 50 minutes plus 3 hours plus 45 minutes. So we have 3 hours plus 95 minutes. And given as there are 60 minutes in 1 hour, we can write this as 3 hours plus 1 hour, which is 60 minutes. So 95 minus 60 is 35 minutes. So Betty took 4 hours and 35 minutes. In question 8, we are told that Kai sells drinks of coffee, tea and hot chocolate, and we are given the information of the number of drinks that he sold on Monday and Tuesday, and to use this information to complete the two-way table. So the first thing we know is that on Monday he sold a total of 140 drinks, so we can put 140 here, and 58 of these drinks were coffee, and 36 of these drinks were tea, and the remainder were hot chocolate. So in order to determine the number of hot chocolate drinks he sold, we need to add 58 and 36 and subtract that answer from 140, and that gives us a value of 46. And on Tuesday, he sold a total of 160 drinks. So we can put 160 here, and 70 of these drinks were tea, so 70 goes here. 50 of these drinks were hot chocolate, so 50 goes here. And in order to determine the total number of coffee drinks sold on Tuesday, we need to add 70 and 50 and subtract that answer from 160, and that gives us a value of 40. So the total number of coffee drinks is simply 98, the total number of tea drinks is 106, and the total number of hot chocolate drinks is 96. And the total number of drinks that he sold on both days is 300. In question 9, we are told that ABC is a straight line, BCD is an isosceles triangle with DB equal to DC. Work out the value of x. So given as the sum of the angles on a straight line is 180 degrees, x can simply be obtained by subtracting 145 degrees from 180 degrees. giving us a value of 35 degrees. In the final part of this question, we are told to work out the value of y. So given as x is 35 degrees and we have an isosceles triangle, that means the angle DCB is also 35 degrees. So angle y can be obtained by adding 35 to itself and subtracting that value from 180. And when you put that into your calculator, you get 110 degrees. In question 10, we are given a diagram which shows a cuboid. The volume of the cuboid is 324 centimeter cubed. Work out the value of w. The volume of a cuboid can be obtained by multiplying the length by the width and the height. So 12 multiplied by 7.5 multiplied by w equals 324. So w can simply be obtained by dividing 324 by 12 times 7.5. And when you put that into your calculator, you get an answer of 3.6. In the first part of question 11, we are told to simplify 7c times 4d. So 7 times 7 is 28, and c times d is cd. In the second part of this question, we are told to simplify this expression. So the first thing we need to do is focus on the w terms. So 8w minus 3w is 5w, and 4y minus 6y is minus 2y. In the next part of this question, we are told that the nth term of a sequence is 5n. Find the fourth term of this sequence. So the fourth term of this sequence is simply when n equals 4, so 5 times 4 is 20. In the final part of this question, we are given a list of numbers, and we are told that x is a number in the list and x is greater than 6. Write down all the possible values of x. So the only numbers greater than 6 in this list are 8 and 10. In question 12, we are told that Shen buys a car for a cost of £21,000. She pays a deposit of 28% of the cost. She pays the rest of the cost in 24 equal monthly payments. Find the amount of each monthly payment. So 28% can be written as 0.28. So 0.28 multiplied by £21,000 simply gives us a value of £5,880. And given as Shen pays this as a deposit, we can subtract this value from £21,000, giving us a value of £15,120. And we are told that she pays the rest of the cost in 24 equal monthly payments. So all we need to do is divide this value by 24. So the final answer is £630. In question 13, we are told to complete the Venn diagram for this information. So the only number that can go in the middle can be an odd number and a multiple of 5. And from our list, that is 15. And in A, we can only have odd numbers, so that will be 11, 13, 17, and 19. And in B, we can only have multiples of 5, so that would be 10 and 20. And so the only numbers that are neither odd numbers or multiples of 5 are 12, 14, 16, and 18. In question 14, we are told to describe fully the single transformation that maps triangle A onto triangle B. So if I draw a line from this point to the origin, and I draw another line from this point to the origin, and another line from this point to the origin, we can clearly see that all these lines converge to the origin, and to get from the origin to the first vertex, I need to go one to the right and one up, and to get from the origin to this vertex here, I need to go 3 to the right and 3 up. Therefore, the single transformation that maps triangle A onto triangle B is an enlargement by a scale factor of 3 from the origin. In question 15, we are told that Sid has n counters, Erin has 7 more counters than Sid has, Kabir has 3 times as many counters as Sid has. Write down an expression in terms of n for the total number of counters that Sid, Erin, and Kabir have. So Erin has 7 more counters than Sid has, so that will simply be n plus 7. And Kabir has 3 times as many counters as Sid has, so that will be 3 times n, which we can also write as 3n. So the total will simply be n plus 7 plus 3n. And when we simplify that, our final expression is 4n plus 7. In the second part of this question, we are told that Kabir has 72 counters. How many counters does Erin have? So given as Kabir has 3n counters, we can set that equal to 72. So n is 72 divided by 3, which is 24. So Erin will simply have n plus 7, which is 24 plus 7. And so the final answer is 31. In question 16, we are given a diagram that shows a wall and a tile. Jim is going to cover the wall with tiles. Jim has 3 boxes of tiles. Each box of tiles contains 12 tiles. Each tile is a square of side 40 centimeters. Work out the number of tiles that Jim should have left after he covers the wall with tiles. So the first thing we need to work out is the area of the wall. And if we split our wall up, we know that this length is 80 centimeters. So the area of our wall is 120 multiplied by 240 plus 80 multiplied by 80. And when you put all of that into your calculator, you get 35,200 centimeters squared. And the area of a single tile can be obtained by multiplying 40 by itself, and that gives us a value of 1,600 centimeters squared. So in order to determine the number of tiles that Jim will need to cover the wall, we need to divide the area of our wall by the area of our tiles, and that gives us a value of 22. And given as Jim has 3 boxes of tiles, we can multiply 3 by 12, and that will give us the total number of tiles that he has. So the number of tiles that Jim should have left over can be obtained by subtracting 22 from 36, and that gives us a final value of 14. In question 17, we are told to draw the graph of y equals 4 minus 3x for values of x from -2 to 4 on the grid below. So the first thing we need is our table of values. And if we substitute the values of x from -2 to 4 into the equation of our graph, we get these values of y. And the final step is to plot all of these points on our graph and connect all these points with a straight line. So we have -2, 10, -1, 7, 0, 4, 1, 1, 2, -2, 3, -5, and 4, -8. And when you draw your straight line, you should hopefully have something that looks like this, and that is your final answer. In the first question, we are given a table of information about the number of kilometers that Ted cycled on each of the 30 days in April. Calculate an estimate for the mean number of kilometers that Ted cycled on each day in April. So the mean can be obtained by dividing the sum of fx by the sum of f, and in order to work out fx, we need to create a third column in our table. And I'll label this column as fx, and fx can be determined by multiplying the frequency by the midpoint of our class width. So the first answer will simply be 8 multiplied by 2.5, which is halfway between 0 and 5, and that gives us a value of 20. And hopefully after repeating this for each of the rows, you get these values. And in order to determine the sum of fx, we need to add all the values in our third column, giving us this. And the sum of our frequency can be determined by adding all the values in our frequency column, giving us this. And after simplifying our fractions and putting them into our calculator, we get a final answer of 11. In question 2, we are told that by rounding each number to one significant figure, work out an estimate for the value of this fraction and to show you're working clearly. So if we round 2.11 to one significant figure, that gives us 2. So the first term is 2 squared. And if we round 58.9 to one significant figure, that gives us 60. And 8.859 rounded to one significant figure is 9, so our denominator is the square root of 9. And if you put all of this into your calculator, you get a final answer of 80. In question 3, we are told that using ruler and compasses only, construct the bisector of angle ABC, show all your construction lines. To construct the bisector of an angle using a compass and ruler only, you need to follow these 4 simple steps. So first, place the compass at the vertex of the angle and draw an arc that cuts both sides of the angle. Next, without changing the compass width, place the compass on one of those points and draw an arc inside the angle. And then after this, again without changing the compass width, repeat this for the other points so that the 2 arcs cross. And finally, use a ruler to draw a straight line from the vertex to the point where the arcs cross. This line will represent your angle bisector. And this is your final answer. If you'd like to see this construction explained in a slightly different way, I've linked a really helpful video from Corbett Maths in the description below. In question 4, we are told that EF and G represent integers such that EF 7, G 12 and 17 is a list of integers written in order of size. The integers have a range of 15, a median of 8.5 and a mean of 9. Work out the value of E, the value of F and the value of G. So given as the range is 15, we can simply state that the largest number, 17, minus the smallest number, E, equals 15. Therefore, E equals 2. And given as the median is 8.5, which is represented by the number halfway between 7 and G, we can add 7 and G and divide that value by 2 and set it equal to 8.5 and solve for G. And if we multiply both sides by 2, 7 plus g equals 17. So g equals 17 minus 7, which is 10. The mean can be determined by adding all the numbers in our list and dividing it by the total number of numbers in our list. And now that we have this equation, we can substitute our known values for e and g and solve for f. So multiplying both sides by 6 gives us this equation, and substituting our values for e and g gives us this equation. So if we simplify the left hand side, we have f plus 48, and that equals 54. So f equals 6. And those are your final answers. In question 5, we are told to show that 3 and 5/7 plus 1 and 2/3 equals 5 and 8/21. So starting with the left hand side, I'm going to write both terms as improper fractions, and in order to do this, we need to take the denominator and multiply it by the whole number and add that value onto the numerator. So 7 times 3 is 21, and 21 plus 5 is 26. And we're going to write that all over the same denominator and repeat the same for the next mixed number. So 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 plus 2 is 5, so that will be 5 over 3. And in order to add these two fractions, we need to write them over the same denominator. So I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator of the fraction on the left by the denominator on the fraction of the right. So that will be 26 times 3 and 7 times 3. And I'll repeat the same for the fraction on the right. So I'm going to multiply 5 by 7, which is the denominator of the fraction on the left, and 3 times 7. And now that we've done this, we can write them as a single fraction. And this gives us 78 over 21 plus 35 over 21. And as a single fraction, that's 113 over 21. And now that we have our improper fraction, we need to convert this into a mixed number. So 21 goes into 113 5 times, leaving us a remainder of 8, and we'll divide that by 21. And that is the final answer. In question 6, we are told that Eli and Petter share $275 in the ratio 2:3. Eli gives 3/11 of his share to charity. Petter gives 0.32 of her share to charity. Work out the total amount that Eli and Petter give to charity. So given as they share this money in the ratio 2:3, we can simply write that as 5 parts. So 275 divided by 5 equals 55. So in order to determine Eli's amount, we need to multiply 55 by 2, and that's 110. And Petter's amount can be determined by multiplying 55 by 3, and that's 165. And Eli gives 3/11 of his share to charity, so we can work out 3/11 of 110, and that equals 30. And Petter gives 0.32 of her share to charity, so 0.32 multiplied by 165 is simply 52.8. And charity receives the sum of these values, so 30 plus 52.8, and that gives us 82.8. So the final answer is 82.80. In question 7, we are told that the weight of a bag of apples is 475 grams, correct to the nearest gram. In the first part of this question, we are told to write down the lower bound of the weight. So given as it is correct to the nearest gram, we need to divide 1 by 2, and that gives us 0.5. And then we need to subtract this value from 475. So our final answer is 474.5. In the second part of this question, we are told that the height of a box is 120 centimeters, correct to the nearest 10 centimeters. Write down the upper bound for the height. So 10 divided by 2 equals 5, and given as it is the upper bound, we need to add this value onto 120, and so our final answer is 125. In question 8, we are told to work out the value of n. So whenever you multiply two indices with the same base, you have to add their powers. So the numerator can be written as 8 to the power of minus 2 plus 9, and we'll divide that by 8 to the power of 10 and set that equal to 8 to the power of n, and that simplifies to 8 to the power of 7 divided by 8 to the power of 10, and that equals 8 to the power of n. And whenever you divide two indices with the same base, you have to subtract their powers, so we can simply write this as 8 to the power of 7 minus 10 and set that equal to 8 to the power of n. And for both sides of this equation to be equal, their powers must be the same, so 7 minus 10 equals n, therefore n equals minus 3. In question 9, we are told that Hari scored 140 points playing a game on Tuesday. This was 12% more points than he scored playing the game on Monday. Work out the number of points that Hari scored playing the game on Monday. So given as he scored 12% more games on Tuesday, we need to add this value of 12% to 100%, and that equals 112%. So 140 points represents 112%. And in order to determine the number of points that Hari scored playing the game on Monday, which is the original percentage of 100%, we need to divide this value by 112, and that represents 1%, and multiply it by 100 to get 100%. And after doing that, we get 125, so the final answer is 125. In the first part of question 10, we are told to simplify this expression. So whenever a number or any algebraic expression has been raised to the power of 0, it gives you 1. In the second part of this question, we are told to solve this inequality. So the first thing we need to do is subtract 5y from both sides. So 20 is less than 2y plus 1, and I'll write this as 2y plus 1 is greater than 20. And the next step is to subtract 1 from both sides. So 2y is greater than 19. And if we divide both sides by 2, we get y is greater than 19 over 2. In the next part of this question, we are told to factorize fully this expression. So the highest common factor of 15 and 25 is 5, and we can factorize w squared from both terms, and x squared can also be factored from both terms. So in our brackets, we have 3x cubed plus 5w. In the final part of this question, we are told to simplify fully this fraction. So 36 divided by 12 is 3. A to the power 5 divided by a squared using our law of indices gives us a to the power 3. And c to the power 7 divided by c cubed using our law of indices again is c to the power 4. And that is your final answer. In question 11, we are given a right angle triangle ABC and some information about this triangle. Point D lies on AB such that DB equals 9 centimeters. Work out the size of angle ACD. So angle ACD can be represented here. And in order to determine the size of this angle, we need the length DC and the length AD. So using triangle DBC, we can determine DC using Pythagoras' theorem. And when I put that into my calculator, I get 3 root 34 centimeters. And in order to determine the length AD, we need to determine the length AB and subtract the length DB from this value. So length AB can be determined using Pythagoras' theorem. And if we solve for x, we can simply state that x squared equals 21 squared minus 15 squared. Therefore, x equals 6 root 6 centimeters. And as mentioned before, AD equals AB minus DB, so that is 6 root 6 minus 9. And using triangle ADC, we can determine angle ACD using the cosine rule. And after putting the values of the dimensions of triangle ADC into our formula, we get a value of 13.45 in your calculator. So the answer correct to one decimal place is 13.5 degrees. In the final question, we are given a diagram that shows parts of a regular n-sided polygon with an interior angle of nx plus 27 degrees and an exterior angle of 2x minus 23 degrees. Work out the value of n. So given as the sum of the angles on a straight line is 180 degrees, we can state that the interior angle and the exterior angle add up to 180 degrees. And if we simplify the left hand side of this equation, we have 11x plus 4, and that equals 180. So 11x equals 176. Therefore, x equals 176 divided by 11, and that gives us 16. And we can determine the exterior angle by substituting this value of x into the expression for the exterior angle, and that gives us a value of 9 degrees. And remember that the exterior angle can be determined by dividing 360 by the number of sides. So we can state that 360 divided by n equals 9. So 9n equals 360. Therefore, n equals 360 divided by 9, and that gives us 40. So the final value of n is 40. Thank you all for watching today's video. I hope this walkthrough has helped boost your confidence for upcoming exams. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up as it really supports the channel. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to S.E.T for more walkthroughs, engineering insights, and STEM inspiration. If you have a question or topic you'd like me to cover, don't forget to drop it in the comments. And until next time, keep practicing, stay curious, and I'll see you all in the next video.